I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight at the National Reform Party's convention. It's very, very wonderful to see all of you, and it's great to be here with you. I'd like to begin by bringing someone here who's going to give us greetings. He is the Mayor Pro Temp and member of the City Council in Kansas City, Missouri, City Councilman George Blackwood. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, Lenora, and welcome all of you to Kansas City. Kansas City is the city of fountains, the heart of America, and you've obviously found the heart of America in the city of fountains. You know, I couldn't help but think for a moment ago, I was asked to say a few words, and this is more substantive than the normal fluff that I do, but I believe in some of the tenets that your party appears to espouse. I was asked to make some comments to the Concord Coalition a week or so ago about the balanced budget and the way in which Congress and the President have seemed to have allegedly created a balanced budget that those of us who have read the fine print, or even the large print, understand is not really true. I'm on the board, or I'm going to be on the board of the National League of Cities, and recently chaired a committee of the National League of Cities that appears to have said something along the lines of what I've read about the Reform Party's position on the balanced budget. One of the things that I think all of us ought to do is those of us who are of like mind, notwithstanding the fact that we're in different groups, ought to try to communicate from time to time to see if we can build a real live consensus as it relates to issues that many of us think are important. I didn't mean to make a speech about that, but I feel strongly about it, and I think that in any event, have a wonderful time in Kansas City. We have some riverboat gaming here. I know nobody in this room is a gambler. I know that. But, I mean, I did make you one promise, because if you go to one of the boats and make sure one of the boats is in Kansas City, Missouri, there are two that are outside the city of Kansas City, and I'll tell you the names. You can go. I won't do that. But get one of the cards that enables you to spend $500 gambling if you want. Just get the card. You don't have to gamble. Because every time you get the card, Kansas City, Missouri gets $1. So you can give me $1 by simply getting one of the. This is true. I am not lying about this. This is true. In any event, welcome to Kansas City. I hope you have a wonderful time, and I can't help but close with my favorite quote from Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of dedicated, honest, hardworking people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Thank you for being here.
Before I introduce all of the distinguished guests and leaders in the reform movement to my left, I'd just like to share a few thoughts with you. Again, good evening, and thank you all for coming. Tomorrow morning, when the delegates, alternates, and observers who have traveled from every corner of this country arrive on the convention floor, a very historic moment in American history will be at hand. This moment is historic in several ways. It could be the largest gathering of independents in our country in nearly 150 years. It will be the first time, yes. It will be the first time that an American political party is created by a mandate from the voters, 20 million in 1992, 8.5 million in 1996, and the more than half the population that says in poll after poll that they want a third party added to the mix. And it'll be a first in yet another way, because when the opening gavel is sounded tomorrow morning, It will be the first time in our nation's history that Black Americans are part of the founding of a major national political party. That is very, very meaningful, and not simply to the people who are participants. It's very meaningful to our country because it means that we, all of us, the Reform Party, will be ending the racial crises in America. Black people look at America, and we are very proud of our country, even though it's still the case that we are less than fully included in political terms, economic terms, social and cultural terms in much of mainstream American life. We look at the most influential and dominating of American institutions, the two parties and the bipartisan system which supports and protects them, and we see one party, the Democratic Party, that originally came into being as an all-white party to preside over a society that practiced slavery. We see the other party, the Republican Party, that came into being as an all-white party to preside over the abolition of slavery. In neither case were we or any other populations of color a part of the founding of those parties, the shaping of their vision, or the fundamental sensibility. We simply were not there. And though over time, Black America became associated with first one and then the other major party, hoping that first one and then the other would unlock the door to full participation in the life of our country, this did not happen. Sometimes we made strides, as we did in the period of Reconstruction after the Civil War, or in the 1960s in the Civil Rights Movement. But even the Civil Rights Movement had its limits because American democracy was itself so structurally limiting that there was only so far we could go. Quotas, affirmative action, majority Black and Hispanic districts, and other such attempts to improve the position of people of color were not, as some believe, the successes of the Civil Rights Movement. They were, in my opinion, an accommodation to its limits. Unable to restructure the whole of American politics to make it more inclusive and participatory, largely because we were politically attached to the Democratic Party, which had absolutely no interest in a political restructuring that would threaten their institutional power, we instead fought for little pieces of access to a system that was controlled from the top by the top. Identity politics came to dominate. Black Americans became a part of special interest politics. Ironically and tragically, race relations worsened as a result. Black Americans felt increasingly frustrated and alone. Black politicians, mainly Democrats, who made their own careers off of the perpetuation of racism, proliferated. They weren't interested in structural change either. Racial inequality keeps them in business. Much of white America felt frustrated too. America was not doing well. Everybody took to blaming everybody else. But the real problem was not we, the people. It was big government, unresponsive, corrupt, and irresponsible. Identity-based politics, which has shaped much of Black participation, only made matters worse. My own involvement in third-party politics, which began in the early 1980s with the New Alliance Party, was based on wanting to create a way out of this bind for Black America, a way out of being essentially held hostage to a two-party system that was not only hostile to us, but hostile to the democratic participation of all the American people. When Ross Perot announced his independent candidacy for the presidency in 1992 and said it was time for the American people to take back our country, I was deeply inspired, and I quickly and passionately accepted his invitation. I am well aware of the fact that I was not your most typical Perot voter. The press tends to paint us as angry white males who are politically conservative. That stereotype obviously doesn't fit me and many of us. Let me be very candid with all of you. My political background, my political roots, if you will, are on the left. Over the years, I have stood for many principles, issues, and causes that come from the left. Some people have made this accusation against me, and it's true. I'm proud of that history, but I'm also proud of all the members of the Reform Party who come from very different political persuasions, including the center and the right. All of us, whether left, center, or right, adopted our ideologies not because we are ideologues, but because we believed those ideologies would help the American people. It's that sensibility which has brought us together to create something that goes beyond ideology to a new reform-oriented political party. When Ross Perot arrived on the scene, this meant that a new moment and a new movement had arrived. That movement was the first sign of the upsurge of all the American people against special interest politics and the corruption of our political process, and for a total political restructuring that could put we, the people, in control. As that movement progressed and began a process of consolidating itself into a political party, we finally stood at the doorway of being able to solve America's race problem. How? If blacks and Hispanics and Asians and Native Americans were included in that party building process, then we would be part of creating the foundation, the vision, the morality, and the culture of a major political party for the first time ever in the history of the United States of America. And if our party had as its goal, its focus, its mandate, the restructuring of the political process, the electoral process, the policy-making process, if that party would be the vehicle through which all Americans could take back our country, then racism would be ended. My friends, my sisters and brothers of all colors, backgrounds, and political experiences, I believe that this has come to pass. By the end of this weekend, the American people will finally have such a party, and we will no longer have a race problem in America, because we have jointly created an environment where whites, Latinos, Asians, Indians, and blacks are together creating a truly American institution. For me, there is one more important purpose of this new institution. We want to end bipartisan control of government and social policy. We want to end and are ending racism, But there's one more thing we need to end, one more fundamental concern we must have about the condition of our country. We want to end poverty. We want to create a revitalized and more growthful economic base so that all who live and work and raise children here can prosper. We want the American dream to come true for all Americans. On behalf of all the Black Reform Party delegates, alternates, and members, I thank you all so very, very much for joining us for tonight's program. It's important to keep in mind that the Presidential Commission on Race Relations, the Congress, the courts, and all our elected officials, white and of color, do not understand that there is no end to racism absent a creative process in which human beings of all races make something new together. That, in my view, is the essence of what the Reform Party is. We the people, all the people, are continuing the American Revolution into the 21st century. We are leading the transformation and restructuring of the whole political culture and process of American politics, and in so doing, we close the divide. More accurately, we make invisible the divide that has kept Americans racially polarized. We end the need for special interest identity politics. We reposition our minorities and our majority as one. We maintain our separate cultures even as we create a new all-American political culture. When Bill Clinton, the politically corrupt president, when Mr. Clinton declared that racism still exists, I, for one, knew it must be over. We, the people, we, the Reform Party, are ending it once and literally for all. Thank you. It's great to see you. It's my honor to introduce our national officers. It's a real pleasure to bring before you the chair of the National Organizing Committee, someone who has worked very hard and has just been a wonderful inspiration, Russell Verney.
It's an honor to be a part of this entire historic weekend, not just this event, but I think as Lenora pointed out, American politics is the business of division. You divide the American electorate until you're the person with the largest small piece of the pie. Our function should be the opposite, should be addition, should be adding the American electorate together until we have not just a majority, but the supermajority. A little over 200 years ago, there was a document written that held that there were some self-evident truths. One of the self-evident truths in America at that time was that slavery was acceptable. Years after that, it was self-evident that only landowners could vote. Years after that, it was self-evident that women shouldn't be able to vote. Years later, it was self-evident we should have segregation in this country. There have been a lot of self-evident truths in this country that haven't been, in fact, truths. One of them today, the self-evident truth that America is a two-political party country and it's the Republicans and Democrats, is just as wrong as all those others. We're going to change it. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to introduce the Vice Chair of our National Organizing Committee, Dale Welch-Barlow.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is everyone having a good time tonight? Okay. I'd like to tell you about a conversation I had with a reporter today. Andrea from USA Today. I think she's here. Where are you, Andrea? Are you going to identify yourself? She asked me, Dale, right here, why aren't there more minorities in the party? Andrea, look around tonight, baby. Okay. But I do have one important comment to make here. As I was sitting here, look to my left. As I was sitting here, look to my right. Women and minorities, we've got to get more heavily involved in the leadership of this party. Let's elect some minorities, some women, and let's take this party over, eh? Anyway, I promised Lenora I'd make this speech very short. I met Lenora Fulani for the first time in Long Beach, California. And I never form an opinion until I can look one straight in the eye. Lenora has a great heart. And Lenora, thank you for your leadership and your wisdom. And with that, good night.
It's my pleasure to introduce the Secretary of the National Organizing Committee, someone with whom I've worked for many years, Jim Mongia.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My voice is getting a little hoarse. It's a pleasure to be here today. You know, I was thinking about recently, I guess about a week and a half ago, I was interviewed by a reporter for a local newspaper in Los Angeles, Downtown News. And he was doing a story about the Reform Party, and specifically, he wanted to know how it was that we thought that all different kinds of people from so many different walks of life could actually come together and build a party together. And he was just astounded that I thought that that could actually happen. So I said to him, well, I'm astounded that you're astounded, to be frank. Because it was a diverse and very different kinds of people from all different walks of life who got together over the history, the 200 some odd years of our history, to build this country together. And it seems to me that if millions and millions of people, with all of the inequities and all of the problems and all of the shortfalls of America, could get together and build a country this great, after we have that country stolen from us, from the politicians in the two major parties, it doesn't seem all that far-fetched to me that we could get back together, build something new, with a new foundation, including all different kinds of people in the building of this new political tool and new political vehicle, and take it back. Now, I mean, I know that the media is here tonight, so I don't want to say anything too, nasty, or I don't want to. I think we should thank USA Today and all the news media that's here. I think we should give them a round of applause and thank them for coming. But I must say, I have to say, that's the good part. I have to say that that sometimes the media and the political beltway analysts and those around Washington and in the state houses and the city houses and so on are a little slow at realizing what's actually happening in America. And I think that Lenora's remarks are very telling about the goal of the Reform Party and what it is that we're doing. We are ending racism in America by building the Reform Party. That's something we can be incredibly, incredibly proud of. We need to shout it from the rooftops. We need to scream it from the alleys and the street corners. And we need to get out there, register new voters, and build this party. I want to thank Lenora very much for organizing this and the Black Reformers for organizing this. Thank you for having me and all of us. God bless the Reform Party.
It's my pleasure to introduce the treasurer of the National Organizing Committee, Carl Owendick.
I think there are more people here tonight than there were here this morning. I want to thank Dr. Fulani and her staff for helping the State Executive Committee in Florida to reach out to people who would not otherwise be involved in the Reform Party. This is a learning experience for us. Florida, like California and New York, is challenged to make everyone feel welcome in the Reform Party. We talk about why we don't see as many people who are black in the Reform Party. Poverty has prevented many minorities from full participation in the political process. It's hard to participate when you're working the second and third shift. That's right. The reforms that we seek will benefit the United States of America with an emphasis on united. Let us never forget we are a party of inclusion, not exclusion. One last point from my personal experience is that great organizations are built by including people with different points of view. Thank you.
At this time, I have the pleasure of introducing the chair of New York's Independence Party, which is our affiliate to Reform, Jack Essenberg.
I'm liable to sing, and I can probably do better than whoever that was. First of all, it's wonderful to be here with all of you because together we're great. I'd also like to thank Dr. Fulani and the people who work with her for putting this together. And I will tell you, when I was asked to speak, Dr. Fulani called me and asked me to speak, I was a little concerned because this sounded like we were starting to do things that were racial and divisive. I can say now that I am absolutely thrilled because, in my opinion, our party is, will be, and should be colorblind. Tom Pecoraro, standing over there, is the vice chairman of our state. Tom wanted to have a caucus of short people, and since I'm Dutch with a white beard, I thought we should have all the Hollanders with white beards over here, but that didn't work either. But again, I bring you greetings from New York. We're ahead of some of the states in how we're going to business. We have over 100,000 people registered in our party, which is the Reform Party. We have the benefit of fusion in New York. We are allowed to endorse candidates of other parties. We're a party that's not against the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. We're not a party that's against good people who are in government, who are doing their jobs. We're against people who are incompetent. We're against corruption. We're against those kinds of things that we all want to see changed. And by the way, the colors that I love to see are red, white, and blue. Jim said, God bless the Reform Party. I say, God bless America.
One of the nice things about building reform is that you meet people from all over the country who you build bridges to and relationships with. One of those persons from San Antonio, Texas, who's the chairperson in Bexar County, Joe Montoya. Let's give him a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. Is this a loud enough microphone now? I promise I won't sing, and if some of y'all are seeing double, this is only me beside myself with excitement. I'm so happy to be here. I have been looking forward to this weekend for so long, and if I get to talking too much, somebody stop me. I want to tell you, if you believe in a third party, join the Reform Party. There are some people out there who believe that this is a two-party system. You might be right. There is one party out there called the Republican Democratic Party or Democratic Republican Party, depending on who's saying it. Come join the Reform Party. There is a Spanish cliche that says, se tapan con la misma colcha. It means that they cover themselves with the same blanket. Now you can look at that in many ways. But one way is that these guys take care of themselves, they watch each other's back, and they arrange it to where other parties have very little, and in some cases no chance of participating in the American process. They've set up the system in such a way that they'll exclude, I should say, anybody that even hints as a threat to the status quo. We want to tell the people that this is of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is for everybody. Like I said, I could go on and on, but let me say this. This morning's Kansas City Star said that the television executives could not be reached for comment in reference to why we can't buy airtime to say our message to those who need and want to hear it. They said that they couldn't be reached for comment. Well, you know why? They were out there having $50,000 dinners at the White House, in our White House. And I just want to say my personal opinion, and I'll end it with this, that Ross Perot is the father of this party. And I know that there's some people who may like it or not, but he is the founder, he is the father. He gave the Reform Party to the American people, and it's up to us to make the best of it. And for all the reporters in the room and who might get wind of this, this is your country too, so report it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Hello. We have 2 more pieces of business, and then we can drink and be merry. There are few people that I set my alarm clock to get up to watch on TV. Maybe 1.5, you know. One of them is our next speaker, who all of us know as our 1996 vice presidential candidate, and who's very committed to building the National Reform Party around the issues that we also love so dearly. So it's indeed my honor, pleasure, and privilege to introduce Pat Choate.
Hello, reformers. Well, I really thank Dr. Lenora Fulani and her colleagues for arranging this terrific reception. Thank you. I did notice a few people who were obviously going to come here saw the Taekwondo competition next door. And I see that they went on in. They figured it'd be good practice for the '98 elections. I am, and I think each of you are very proud to be a member of a party for the first time in America's history that actually and honestly looks like America. I think everyone in this room is convinced that our country is great, our people are good, but our politicians have lost their way. Let me say that I am deeply honored to be with you, the people who are going to lead America home. Thank you.
Our final treat for the evening. There is a myth out there that all black folks come from the inner cities. Well, some of us were born in the middle of the country. And there's someone here with us tonight who I've worked with for the last 17 years who's actually from Kansas. She's the national producer of the All Stars Talent Show Network, which is the most successful anti-violence program in the country. In New York City, we worked with over 35,000 young people alone last year. And she's going to end our evening, our formal program, and our kickoff for everything wonderful that's coming in the next couple of days with a song entitled Black and Country. Let's give Pam Lewis a round of applause.
for the rodeo in Harlem, singing country melodies uptown, wearing a cowboy hat on Adam Clayton Boulevard, thinking about Malcolm X and his Omaha sound. I came to New York City on the night train, black as I could be, but Kansas grown, wondering if the great man from Nebraska wondered if he'd ever make it on his own, wondered if he'd ever make it in this town. Black and country, black and country's what I am. Black and country, and not knowing if I can sing my song at the Apollo as a black and country woman. Black and country is what I am. Black and country is what I am. I'm gonna do the right thing for my people. Black is black, that's true the whole world round. I come from the country, and country black's my sound. So I'm working for the rodeo in Harlem town. So I'm working for the rodeo in Harlem town. Black and country's what I am. Black and country, and not knowing if I can sing my song at the Apollo as a black and country woman. Black and country is what I am. Black and country is what I am. Call me a rodeo rider, I got a horse that's black and white. Call me a Harlem cowgirl, hear my hoofbeats in the Harlem night. Black and country's what I am. Black and country, and not knowing if I can sing my song at the Apollo as a black and country woman. Black and country is what I am. Black and country is what I am. Thank you.
Thank all of you for coming. Thanks to our speakers. Now let's go build the biggest and baddest party this country has ever seen. Thank you.